Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining to this event. We are organizing here the webinar of the APNODE Zimbabwe. Can you kindly give us a few minutes before we can start the event to set up everything? Thank you very much for your patience. I am Sonia Piotier. I'm from the APNODE Secretariat.
Hello, Kobina.
Hello, Honorable Mhona. Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Yeah, so it means no one was talking. That's why.
Okay. No, I think we're waiting for your two colleagues to kindly join. Then we'll start. Yes, I guess. Yes, but I wanted to check if your audio was okay.
No,
so
I know it's perfect.
It's fine. Yes, and we can see you clearly.
Thank you. But hello.
Hello.
I don't know Senator Chikukwa, but Honorable Mavetera was going to join us late, maybe around our past. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
Once again, good afternoon, everyone. It's unfortunate that our moderator is having internet connection challenges. However, we'll give him 5 more minutes and then we'll start at 12:15. Once again, apologies for the delay. Thank you very much. Okay, we will start then the event. Good afternoon once again, everyone. Welcome. We welcome all of you to this second webinar series of the APNODE webinar series. A special welcome to all the eminent senators and honorables present at this event. I also want to welcome all the participants. Thank you for joining us to this amazing event. Today's webinar is Team Factors Promoting and Hampering the Evaluation of Public Policies Experience from Zimbabwe. We will hear from the Zimbabwe national chapters of the African Parliamentarians Networks on Development Evaluation, APNODE. The members of the APNODE National Chapters will share on their experience in terms of the evaluation of public policies in Zimbabwe. Before we start, there are a few in-house recommendations that I want to share with you in order for this event to go smoothly. Firstly, I will ask or request all of you to mute your mic if you're not speaking to avoid any echoing. Secondly, the webinar will be recorded and shared on APNODE webpage. I will now give the floor to Kobena Hanson since Senator Langton Chikukwa has not joined yet. And then he will start with the moderation of the event while we are waiting for Senator Langton Chikukwa to join. Kobena.
Thank you, Sonia. There we go. All right. Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. And also welcome to Senator Mhona. We're glad that you are here with us. And even as we wait for the other colleagues to join, it's a pleasure that we have you. For those of you who are not part of APNODE, Senator Mhona is a Member of Parliament from Zimbabwe. He also happens to be one of the executive members of the APNODE Executive Committee, and he sits on the Budget Committee in the Parliament of Zimbabwe. So he comes to us today with a lot of experience as we talk about the essence of public policies within parliaments, the role of Parliament in advancing the use of evaluation and public policy, and he'll draw on his experiences. As we go along, hopefully Senator Chikukwa and Honorable Tatenda will join us. So Honorable Felix.
Yes, Kobina.
Yes. Thanks for correcting me. Yes, I said Senator. Thanks for correcting me.
I'm yet to join the Senate.
I'm sure you will soon join the Senate, but my apologies. Yes, so
it's all right.
Yeah, I thought maybe we'll start out by you just sharing a little bit about your experience within the Parliament, how public policy basically has been shaped, and specifically how evaluation has played a role in this manner. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kobina. I'm sure I'm now very clear.
Yes, we can hear you very clearly.
Yes, I wanted to say we've got a very brilliant constitution in Zimbabwe, which has been amended in 2013. And it gives powers, especially to Parliament, in terms of oversight, legislative, and then representative role. And what has been missing for years was the issue of monitoring and evaluation. And normally, according to the Constitution, it is actually very clear in our Constitution, for those who can Google our Constitution, under Section 141 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe. It talks about the involvement of the masses of Zimbabwe in policy formulation. And also in section 13, subsection 2 also of the same constitution, it talks about national development issues whereby the masses are supposed to be involved. And then the question arises now that, is this being implemented when it comes to government policies? And you happen to see that as we do our oversight role as Parliament through committees, you now have oral evidence where you summon ministers. We also have public hearings where you go out to solicit views from the people. And what then happens is when you go out to solicit views from the people, you are then supposed to gather the views then that you table in the August House. But when it comes to exactly monitoring and evaluation, we've seen that with the advent of the new dispensation, by the new dispensation, I'm talking about the Second Republic, which came into office 2018. A desk was then established by His Excellency Comrade Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, and then a specific minister in his office to oversee the issues of monitoring and evaluation was set up. And it has been buttressed, especially in the budget that we are currently seized with, the 2021 budget, to earmark some certain funds towards monitoring and evaluation, which was the missing link, whereby policies were being implemented. And if you look since 1980, but for the monitoring and evaluation part of it was missing. So we are saying now is Parliament, and I'm glad through the advent of APNODE, we are trying to say how then can we enhance the issues of monitoring and evaluation, which are very topical. There is no way you can come up with a brilliant policy that you cannot evaluate. So I'm glad that now we are ready from the executive side and from Parliament through the local chapter, whereby we are trying to push the issues of monitoring and evaluation. I think for now, that's what I can say, Kobina. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think it's very insightful for us to know that in Zimbabwe, issues of evaluation are taken seriously. As you did say, that Parliament is on board, that they appreciate the need for and they demand the utilization of evaluation in shaping policy. Now, so if, I may ask, I mean, this did not happen in a vacuum per se. Right. So what would be some of the driving factors that enabled this to happen, basically the uptake and utilization of evaluation in public policy? So what were some of the driving factors for that? And then what has been also some of what has enabled, again, the environment, right, such that the promotion of it is more or less widespread across the National Assembly. Was this basically driven by APNODE, or is this something that, I guess, just members within the National Assembly appreciate and recognize, hence it's being done?
Thank you very much, Kobina. I think it has got two very important scenarios here. From the legislative side, which is Parliament, I'm sure you saw our Honorable Speaker, Advocate Jacob Francis Mtenda, who is head of Parliament according to our Constitution, heading both National Assembly and Senate. He is very supportive of monitoring and evaluation issues. And I think by the numbers that constitute APNODE as well, you can actually testify to that effect, that we are not taking lightly issues of APNODE. But the platform, basically from a legislative perspective, actually emanated from APNODE. And I want to thank you very much, Kobina and team, Africa Development Bank, for actually even accommodating this chapter and hosting this very important platform. So the efforts that emanated, especially from Abidjan, and the message that we took back home in Zimbabwe, whereby members are very excited, and we've got a motion before the August House, where we are going to deliberate on issues to do with monitoring and evaluation. Above all, Kobina, when it comes to the executive, We have seen that our president, Dr. Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, is also a champion of monitoring and evaluation. And I can say this because as the minister, when he tabled his national budget on the 26th of November, we actually witnessed that the issues of monitoring and evaluation were then prioritized to show that we now need to evaluate the policies. And I can just cite a very good piece of blueprint that we have, the Transitional Stabilization Program, which then started on the 20th, on the 2018 and running until the end of this month, 2020. And a new policy has just been launched as a follow-up to the Transitional Stabilization Program, known as the Development Strategy paper, which is Development Strategy 1, which is running from 2021 to 25. And the bottom line is the issue to enhance issues to do with monitoring and evaluation, so that we then take on board and also evaluate how effective these policies are for the betterment of the people of Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think this is really exciting for me. When you mentioned that there seems to be an appreciation both at the executive level and also within the National Assembly. But even that, I mean, beyond that, I mean, the fact that the president himself is on board and appreciates the need that that we utilize, or basically the need that legislatures utilize evaluation to more or less guide policies and ultimately shape the development path of the country. I think this is really something that we should commend Zimbabwe for, right? And I'm happy that from APNODE Secretariat that we could play a small role in sort of like more or less planting this seed. But I guess, I mean, under the guidance of the Speaker, Mudenda, it seems like this has actually been taken up very well within the Parliament and beyond. Now, I mean, that being said, ultimately, I believe that beyond Parliament and the executive, there are other stakeholders also, either across MDAs, the ministries, departments, agencies, that also appreciate and utilize some of these evaluations. So I was just wondering if once these evaluations are carried out, and of course they serve the purpose within the institution of Parliament, are there other avenues where they are utilized such that these are disseminated, you know, beyond Parliament?
Thank you very much, Kobina, for that. And you are right. There are also very important stakeholders to that effect. We've got the civil society organizations, which are actually supposed to disseminate information, awareness programs to the masses. And I can say they are also playing a very important role through capacitation of honorable members, one, and for secretariat, for institutional memory. So as we then do the oversight role, we are also being capacitated by the civil society organizations so that we then administer the issues of monitoring and evaluation to take the executive to account. Because the purpose of monitoring and evaluation is for the accountability issues, transparency and accountability, so that we then report back to the people pertaining to your policies of your country, so that the general citizenry will be in a position to see where they are coming from and where they are going as a nation. So that's why the issues of monitoring and evaluation are very important. And we would also ascertain where you have missed, especially your targets and the gaps that need to be actually plugged, so that you then create the relevant legislative tools to manage those issues. So I can say, yes, the generality of Zimbabweans would also be in a position to make use of the M&E and also the civil society. We also have the churches who are actually very topical in this equation, so that as they preach the message outside there, then they'll be in a position to actually take the executive to account for its actions, and especially for the policies. because the purpose of policies in any given nation are not for the executive, are not for the judiciary or the legislature, but are for the people to live in a way that would actually address their concerns. So I think, yes, there are a number of important players who are actually interested in monitoring and evaluation, which I said of late, we are actually treasuring the issues of M&E.
Thank you, Honorable. You mentioned something that is important, and that's the issue of institutional memory. I think Parliament is not the only institution that has this challenge. I think different organizations and ministries across have this, both in the private and public sector. And I think, but in Parliament, I think it's a big issue. Why? Because after every 4 or 5 years, right, when there's an election, some parliamentarians, unfortunately, will lose their seat and then new members come in, right? And so the ones that lose their seats take some institutional memory away with them. Now, so, you know, as you try to institutionalize evaluation within the Parliament of the National Assembly of Zimbabwe, right? How has the issue of mitigating the loss, right, of institutional memory through parliamentary members' turnaround or attrition, how is this addressed? And what steps are being taken to basically help ensure that, you know, that institutional memory is captured from one parliamentary cycle to the next parliamentary cycle?
Thank you very much, Kobina. You raised a very important point about institutional memory. Yes, as parliamentarians, we actually voted into office, and our tenure is about 5 years. If you are lucky, you come back for another 5-year term. You know the demands of the electorate. So at the end of the day, these are the issues that, so you need secretariats to be capacitated so that there is continuity. But however, the issue of resources will also come into play. To say, is the national pace being in a position to adequately cover the requirements of secretariat and also members of parliament? But above all, it's not about capacitation. Remember the composition of honorable members. There are no very specific qualifications for one to be an honorable member, especially in our country, whereby you are only required to be of the age of 21 and be a registered voter. So you can understand the diversity in terms of the understanding that we bring into the House to say somebody is better qualified, another next person is not, which is not a requirement, because as you can represent people, then you can get that mandate to be in the House because of that. If you are a good speaker, then you can convince the masses to vote for you and without other relevant qualification. So you can see the challenges where we are coming from, that you then need to have people capacitated. That's why I actually reiterate the issue of capacity building, so that we then capacitate members, so that as they then interrogate, both the challenge is, if failure to capacitate, even when the executive come before parliament, if you are not adequately capacitated, you might not be in a position to address pertinent issues before the August House. So I'm saying these are some of the challenges, but however, the mitigatory issues is the continuous training, and I'm glad that the civil society again comes into play, whereby we are also being capacitated, and through parliament as well, we are also being capacitated. So these are some of the mitigatory factors that are being taken on board. But like what you rightly said, it's not parliament alone. Even in some line ministries, whereby they do not appreciate the issues of M&E, they just think that if there is a policy, then that's the end of the day. For them to evaluate how they've fared within a given period of time, they might not have capacity. And we've witnessed that when we call some of these line ministries to appear before committees. But of paramount importance, Kobina, are the engines of parliament, which are committees. And in my particular case, I chair the Committee on Budget, Finance and Economic Development. This is where real business takes place. The unfortunate thing, when you go into August House, there's a lot of political grandstanding where you'll be trying to defend your political party. But when it comes to committees of parliament, you then see that there's real business that takes place, because we become very apolitical and we address issues to do with national interest. So I can say this is very important, and it's unfortunate with this ravaging pandemic, where we haven't been doing our work as expected. Some are through virtual with only a few attending the Augusta House. So business is not as usual, but if it was normal, you would have seen how we would have gone, even with this chapter, the effectiveness that would have demonstrated as a nation to buttress that we are on board when it comes to M&E. Yes, thank you.
Okay, excellent. I think the insight you provide is very meaningful in terms of how you're addressing issues of institutional memory, how things are being tackled within the committees, and the committees members themselves buying into the importance of having evaluation to drive or to inform the decisions that they ultimately take. You also mentioned the issue of capacity. And I think, yes, it's both the capacity to be able to understand the nuances of evaluation, as well as capacity to appreciate evaluation. And we know that when it comes to evaluating public policy or evaluation in general, sometimes there's an element of some complexities, right? Especially when you're looking at large, when you evaluate large sectors or complex sectors. So sometimes it's issue of correlation versus causality, or sometimes there are multiplicity of effects and outcomes. So in terms of coming up and then concretely attributing A or B to something, it's not that easy, right? So within the Parliament of Zimbabwe, as you work with the different stakeholders and as you utilize the outcomes of evaluation, how do you address some of these, for the lack of a better word, let me say, some of these technical challenges that go with evaluation?
Thank you very much, Kobina. I think the only best way forward, such kind of webinar, like what we are doing now, such issues of benchmarking visits and practices where you then engage and also understand how other jurisdictions are managing, it's also of paramount importance. So I think as an institution, it's a continuous process, issues of M&E. I can actually relate issues of M&E to just like breathing. If you are not choked, you cannot realize that there's a process that is happening in your breathing. Until you are choked, then you know that there's a system. So when you talk of M&E, people think it's a waste of resources. But surely there is no way, even in terms of policy implementation, where you can move from a certain policy to another policy without M&E. How then would you then address the gaps and the dangers that you would have missed in the other policy? So you find that as we then have the numbers in the Augusta House, we then try to actually, like in our case, the local chapter, where we are saying to other honorable members, let it be a lifeblood, let it be a lifestyle, where you are driven by issues of M&E as an individual and at an institutional level. So you then see that this is the culture that we are embracing, that even in our committees, as we carry our work, we need to have that to take cognizance of the fact that M&E, even our work plans as committees, are we evaluating what we would have done, especially as we are gravitating towards another year? Try to sit down and evaluate and come up with very pragmatic solutions to say this is the way forward. So I can say with the chapters like the APNODE there, we are very glad that as an institution, we also relate, we also follow through your postings online when it pertains to monitoring evaluation issues. So these are some of the very important issues that will help us as a nation to move forward.
Thank you. I have just been informed that Senator Langton Chikukwa is now online with us. So Senator Chikukwa, if you don't mind, I think you can turn on your camera and mic and then join us. I know originally you're meant to moderate, but I'm sure that participants here with us would also appreciate your insights. So if you don't mind, you could do that and join us.
Thank you very much, Kobena. And to begin with, I would also want to acknowledge a very comprehensive report from Honorable Mhona. But I think for purposes also of progress for now, whilst I'm acquainting myself on what was being discussed, we may progress, then I will join as we go along. Otherwise, right. For now.
Okay, so welcome again, and I guess we'll proceed as you've suggested. All right, so it seems, that you've mentioned the essence of capacity. You've mentioned the importance of learning, and I think these are all very essential attributes that, as you do point out, the Parliament of Zimbabwe takes very seriously. One of the things I wanted to find out from you is, because you had earlier mentioned how you get into deeper discussions at the committee level, all right? And I'm sure that once that is done and you come back to reporting to the August House, there's some give and take. And I'm just wondering, in your opinion, how the learning from the committee level, from evaluation, and the broader discussions that take place within the August House tend to either recreate knowledge or reinforce the appreciation for such knowledge from evaluation. And also, I guess in a sense, it also then tends to build capacity across the board.
Thank you, Kobina. I thought maybe with the joining of my chairman, I was going to be freed from the firing squad. But however, well, let's continue. I wanted to say, yes, you are very right. Like I indicated that the committees are the engines of Parliament. And by engaging from different political divides, you then see that as we then move to the August House, the quality of debates will then change, because will be now debating from an informed perspective, unlike whereby you just shout in the August House without knowing the issues of M&E. So I can say with the advent of the chapter, the local chapter, and also being the bigger picture in terms of APNODE, we are actually improving day by day, one through capacitation, so that as we then debate, we then take cognizance of the fact that issues of M&E are very topical. Because remember, when we are debating, we are not doing it for ourselves. We have got representatives, especially the electorate. They also need to follow through to understand what we are doing. And I'm glad that Zimbabwe will also have a platform that citizens can also follow through the debates in the House online, whereby they can also understand. And we've been lobbying and advocating for a channel that is dedicated to Parliament, so that we will then have people following through the issues. And by that way, this will also be enhancing the issues of M&E to evaluate how then do we conduct business. Remember, when we sit, we actually paid allowances. So we have to justify why we are in the Augusta House. And the public, they also need to make sure that their hard-earned money is being channeled towards progressive debates in the Augusta House. So I can say with M&E, these are some of the issues that we're talking about. And with our champion, who is the Speaker of National Assembly, Advocate Tatenda, he will also be monitoring whenever we also speak, whether through committees as individuals, so that we then have a feedback platform of how we are actually doing as individuals and as committees. And also not to forget about the fourth estate. When you actually conduct your business in the August House, they will be also writing reports, following through the issues that are being debated. And also we can have platform to then elaborate on what is transpiring in the August House. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. You know, based on what you just said, it would appear that once, if like, I mean, and I think you had sort of alluded to this a bit earlier on, that, you know, once in the August House, maybe 10 people tend to a bit grandstand because you have to defend party positions and stuff. But then when you get to the committee levels, it becomes very, it's no longer on party lines, right? So everything is done more with the broader interest or the national interest at hand. Now, what I wanted to find out is, okay, once the committees have gone through, let's say, an evaluation report that is going to inform a decision that's going to be made, and then you come back again to present this to the broader House, at which point, I guess, the party allegiances then come back to play. I mean, how has this been balanced, right, in your opinion? Right, so basically going from a very closely knit partisan discussion within the committees to then coming back into the House, the National Assembly, to then deliver on it. And has this been a challenge? And how, and if so, how is this being addressed, in your opinion?
Thank you very much, Kobina. I can say when it comes to the House now, we have got whips, chief whips. And I'm glad that one of the APNODE members, Paulina Mpariwa, who I'm sure she's also logged on, she is the chief whip from the opposition. And as the ruling party, we also have our own chief whip. So what then the essence of chief whips is to maintain order in the House and also direct debate in the House. So I can say, as we then debate, and of later, I want to be grateful and also appreciate that the whips that we do have now have demonstrated the maturity when it comes to debating in the House. Whether they are of divergent views or whether they are of minority views, when your facts are not being delivered in the manner that you want, but you also need to appreciate that the majority rule. So at the end of the day, when a point is raised in the August House that you are not very comfortable with, unlike previous years, one would start shouting and then actually disturbing the flow of the debate. So I can say of late, when it comes to the House now, with the maturity being demonstrated by the whips, and then the guidance of debate, and also understanding the essence of M&E, these are some of the issues that as individuals would then say, no, today we didn't actually manage to control the flow of business. Is this the way the nation has to go in terms of being parliamentarians? So I can say M&E is playing a very important role as individuals, like what I alluded to earlier on, and with the greater part of the nation as well.
You know, I don't want this to be a two-man show. So what I think we'll do at this point, with your permission, is we'll open it up and then let participants who have joined us and may have a question to kindly pose their question. You can go ahead and then type it inside the dialogue box, or basically, if you do raise your hand, I will ask you to speak. I think there's one hand up. I think it's Senator Chikukwa. I think Senator Chikukwa wanted to add something. So Senator Chikukwa, kindly go ahead. I think you can kindly unmute yourself and then you go ahead. Yes, please.
It's fine. Thank you very much, Kobena. I hope you are hearing me.
We can hear you.
Thank you very much. I think once again, I just want to acknowledge Honorable Mhona's contribution. And I think in terms of questions around our competence in Zimbabwe in regards to capacity building, Honorable Mhona is a testimony of competence in terms of the contributions which he has been giving. I think we have heard that. The other question I just want to buttress on what Honorable Mhona has just said right now, and your question, Kabena, was the issue of division when it comes to M&E. Our position in Zimbabwe, like for example, yesterday, we had a very good debate in Senate when it comes to M&E. It's a motion which we were debating on, and it appears that within the different political divide, people are speaking with one voice, with the understanding that the issues of M&E, they affect everyone. There are issues to deal with monitoring and evaluation, our different interventions, be it interventions in health, interventions in agriculture, interventions across all our be it Ministry of Finance. So it appears that generally people are speaking in one accord, in one voice on the need for adoption and implementation of M&E. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Chikukwa. I think that's very insightful, and I think it's also very refreshing to know that, you know, both within the Senate and the National Assembly in Zimbabwe, that irrespective of one's political affiliation to their party, that everybody appreciates the need that decisions and policies are premised on good evidence, and also that there's that appreciation of the learning component that comes from evaluation. I think in that regard, there's a lot that, you know, is being done, as you've said, that maybe others across the region and across the continent can draw from. So thank you for that. I just want to find out if we have any other questions from the floor. Any questions for Senator Chikukwa or Honorable Mhona? I see Honorable Pokosi Dumbe from Cameroon, who's joined us. Madam, I don't know if you have a question or you'd want to speak at this time, or it's just me assuming I saw your hand up. Okay, so for those who want to, who have questions, you can either put it in the dialog box or kindly raise up your hand. So as we don't have any questions right now, I just want to go back and ask a question, because there's something that I think when we all talk about public policy and the evaluation of public policy, as well as the utilization of evaluation to feed into public policy, it's important. And, you know, this is not only even limited to public policy evaluations, but it's evaluations in general. When we talk about issues of the quality of evaluation, the credibility, the impartiality, I just wanted to find out from either Honorable Mhona or Senator Chikukwa, what has been Zimbabwe's experience in this regard, and what insights can you share in terms of the strategies and efforts that are put into ensuring that you can mitigate any challenges? Because we know that to ensure that we have, if it's not quality, it's not a quality evaluation, the findings will not be meaningful. If it's not credible, the findings may not be appealing. And if it's not done with impartiality, right, then some may question it. So I'm just wondering, in your experience in Zimbabwe, how have some of these issues been addressed? Thank you.
Hello, Kobina?
Yes, sir.
I think I can take part of that, and then Chairman Senator Chikukwa maybe would come in as well. Well, what actually governs the beautiful nation of Zimbabwe is the doctrine of separation of powers, whereby we have got the three arms, and I'm sure in any other jurisdiction that is also the issue of control when it comes to governance. And you find that from the legislative perspective, there are expectations from the people, from the masses, that especially I can cite an example of budget consultation process to say how genuine, how authentic are the contributions that emanate from the people towards policy formulation, which is the budget tool. So failure to then monitor and evaluate how the budget has been implemented, imagine it's tabled, it's debated, and then you also need the tracking part of it. So failure to then feedback to the people will then say, no, the process is not of any essence. So we are saying now as Parliament, just citing the example of the budgetary process, after the budget has been debated, if it has been approved, you also need to go back to the people so that you then inculcate that culture of confidence from the people to say whatever their views in terms of policy formulation are taken on board. So I think this is what you then expect. And I can also cite the other arm, which is the judicial. The court cases, how they are being administered. This is of very paramount importance. And you have seen that the appointment of the judges, according to our constitution, the way there is a Judicial Service Commission, whereby there are public interviews. And the essence of public interviews is to then, for members to participate in the process, to see surely that this judge has been struggling and how then has he been appointed on the bench. So I can cite those kind of scenarios to try to administer and also bring into the issue of confidence. So we are saying as MNE, we've got a very important role to then play and ascertain how viable are these methods in terms of evaluating. And when I actually come to the issue of executive, we then want to see the executive to say, according to their strategic plans, are they sticking to the issues that they have actually enunciated in their strategic documents? So that when we call them before committees, we need to interrogate to see how best they are actually implementing what they've actually dedicated the line ministry to pursue. So I can say the bottom line is the public, they demand issues to do with transparency and accountability, and we can only be in a position to evaluate, monitor and evaluate and feedback to the people so that we are actually on equal footing. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Chikukwa, do you want to add to what we just... Yes, please go ahead.
Right. Given the fact that M&E relies on data, so on its evidence based, it's on data. So in Zimbabwe, to a greater extent, we have tried to ensure that data from its original source, we have to make sure that there is a data integrity. And this has been achieved by having M&E personnel to a greater extent in each and every ministry. We now have got people responsible of monitoring and evaluation structures which ensure that the data which is being taken, which is being collected, is it correct? Is it accurate? And even at within our office of the president, we now have got a minister who partly works on M&E to ensure that there is also through and through data integrity, which is being used for different decisions within government structures. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think having that, buy-in at the very top level, so within the office of the president, definitely is excellent. I think we've seen this in other countries where they have ministries for M&E, or they have specific units set up for M&E at the highest level. So based on your two feedbacks, I would want to assume that, should I assume that much of the evidence that is collected that ultimately feeds the evaluation that you base the policies on is done through the public system, so either from the ministries through you, or do you also rely on some private evaluations, right? Because sometimes evaluations can be done in-house, so within the own system, if the skills are in-house, or sometimes it might be outsourced. So you basically get a consultant who does that. And I'm just wondering, in your experience, what is the balance, and what have been any issues vis-a-vis when it has been outsourced or when it has been basically carried out internally?
Hello, yes.
Yes, sir, Senator.
It's fine. Like we have said that within ministries, we are now able to collect this data. So we are saying that the data which we are collecting from different ministries, that's the very data which government relies on. But however, in terms of making decisions, we are also considerate of also data which comes from other independent development partners for us to be able to make decisions within government. Maybe Honorable Mhona may also want to add on that.
Thank you very much, Honorable Senator Chikukwa. I think during our earlier maybe opening remarks, we alluded to the issue of the M&E right in the office of the president, as championed by His Excellency, and to actually support that, in addition to the issues that have been raised, the funding of M&E, like what I indicated in the current 2021 budget, shows also the seriousness that we are actually taking the issues of M&E. It's not longer a talk show that we also need M&E, even in line ministries or even from the office of the president, but it is being funded specifically to address issues of M&E. So I can say from that, that shows the buy-in from the executive that they are now in a position to address the issues of M&E, and the purpose of that is for the accountability part of it to the masses of Zimbabwe. So I can say, yes, the buy-in is there at high level and also buttressed by the legislature, which is ourselves.
All right, I think, thank you very much. Just before I see there's an interaction between Mr. Bayav from Bongo and Sonia, but it's in French. So Sonia, I'm just wondering if there's a question for either speaker.
Yes, Kobina, Mr. German Baviav is asking what are the specific evaluations that have been conducted in terms of policy, public policy. He wants specific examples from the National Assembly of Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Hello, Kobina?
Yes.
No, we're waiting for you to say proceed.
Oh, sorry. Okay, kindly go ahead.
Like I indicated to the issues of M&E, a continuous process. I remember I talked about breathing, that yes, everything that comes before Parliament, failure to evaluate, then at the end of the day, there is no, in terms of policy buy-in from the people. So whatever comes before, the exact details that can actually come through the committees, whereby we can actually summon ministers for oral evidence, and our constitution is very clear. And also in terms of section 299, those who can go the oversight. And we are guided by standing orders, rules and orders of Parliament. And in particular, Zimbabwean context under Article 20, we can investigate and inquire into anything as Parliament. So real scenarios is then to take the executive to account. One, even other players, whether they are from the private sector, they are actually brought before Parliament, so that we then evaluate whether it involves public funds to account, whether how they would have managed and how they would have expanded when it comes to public funds. So I can say there are a number of issues that we can also do. And the other process that we can do normally on Wednesdays, we have got question time to the executive, whereby members of Parliament pose questions to the executive. Some are written questions, some are without notice, where they'll just emanate on that particular day and pose straight to the minister. Some are written so that they research and then give feedback to the electorate. So I can say in evaluating, it's a continuous process. As MPs, we then try to say if it is the policy, like I indicated, the National Development Strategy policy that we have, NDS1, how it is going to be implemented right to the grassroots. We then interrogate the minister. So these are some of the issues that we will also be taking on board, and having been capacitated to interrogate, so that the minister will then relate how that policy translates to the real life scenarios of people. So I can say these are some of the issues that we then do. Through question times, we can also do field visits as Parliament to see if the minister is saying, I've allocated so much to a certain project. We actually visit as committees to witness whether that project is being conducted. So these are some of the issues and how we then come in as Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I think that's very good to know. But back to, I'm just going to go take a step back to Sonia's question from Mr. Mbavia. And I think he wanted to know specifically what are some of the, or what specific evaluations have been conducted, within Parliament, or what public policy evaluations have been conducted within Parliament. So I don't know if you can shed a bit of light on some of the evaluations that have taken place.
Yes, Kobina, I can say currently we are seized with the Transitional Stabilization Program, a policy which has been driving, which has been the radar for us in the past 2 years. Which started in October 2018 and is running until December 2020, which is this month. So in terms of M&D, we are actually evaluating how it has impacted on the livelihood. And at the end of the day, we are now gravitating towards another new policy, the one that I'm talking about, NDS1. So I can cite this one as a very good example, where we are evaluating the impact of that policy, government policy, and then the NDS1, which is now shaping the destination of Zimbabwe in the coming 5 years. So I can give him that good example. And the lead committee is the committee that I chair, so that as we then finalize the evaluation process, next year when we resume sittings, we'll then table the report of the findings. So I can just cite that policy as one policy that we assist with as Parliament.
No, I think thanks again for that. And it's very interesting to realize that within the National Assembly of Zimbabwe, emphasis is placed both on the M and the E, so both on the monitoring aspect and also on the evaluation aspect, because I think in some cases, there's a lot of emphasis on the M and not too much emphasis on the E, right? But based on what you're saying, it seems that both are given equal value and both are utilized to the full in ensuring that policies are shaped meaningfully and ensuring that both the executive and the legislature are on the same platform in that regard in terms of their learning and in terms of their appreciation and utilization of M&E. Now, let me just go back to the audience and see if there's any other question. Then so Sonia, if I've missed anything, kindly let me know.
Senator Langton Chikukwa has raised his hand.
All right. Senator, kindly go ahead.
It's fine, Kobena. Maybe just to add on specific policies. Of course, outstandingly, we have got the Transitional Stabilization Program. For us to move on to NDS, it means that the change is based on evidence which we have derived from the Transitional Stabilization Program. That's why now we are making some changes for way forward to NDS1. We also have got some other specific sector policies we have reviewed, like the command agricultural programs, the Zimbabwe gender policy, the environmental policies. We are actually reviewing, but the reviews are based on the monitoring and evaluation which we are doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, so Senator Chikukwa, when you mention the reviews that are currently taking place of these three policies, I guess the agricultural, the gender, and the environmental policies, I'm assuming this is one of the different stages that it's going to go through. All right, so maybe you could share a bit more in terms of, okay, what happens, once it's been reviewed. So what happens within the National Assembly and the Senate once such a policy has been reviewed, and then what is the next step? I mean, so that I guess the audience gets a better sense of how the processes within Parliament and the Senate take place in terms of evaluation of policies. Thank you.
Oh yes, the reviews, I would say, it's part of continuous monitoring. Then when we continuously monitor, for example, on the command, we used to have challenges whereby if we give, say, inputs to our farmers, by the end of the day, we're having challenges of accountability, paying back, issues like that. Then by the end of the day, what we are then doing, we are now working hand in hand with our financial institutions. These are the ones now which are now managing the outputs which we are giving to the farmers, the loans. So when such reviews are made, we then debate them in Parliament, then need there be, we adopt and we move forward.
Thank you so much. Honorable Mhona, just, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yes, Kobina, I'm in agreement. I think the Honorable Senator was just buttressing, and I do concur. with these submissions.
Okay, thank you. I think we have, Sonia, if I'm right, another question from Honorable Mbaviav. Hi, Sonia.
Yes, Mr. Mbaviav is just congratulating Zimbabwe for the work they have been doing. And then he's saying that it's a great experience and a lot of African countries need to learn from it, what is happening in Zimbabwe currently. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So you heard that. You're being congratulated for the wonderful work being done. And I think as per the discussion we're having, it seems that actually there's a lot of good work being done, both within the Senate and within the National Assembly of Zimbabwe with regard to the utilization of evaluation to shape policies and programs. And I think this recording and this webinar definitely will serve to showcase some of what you're doing and let everybody know some of the good work that is being done. Okay, so I know that when we started to talk, this was before you joined Senator Chikukwa, Honorable Mhona had mentioned the role that APNODE as a network has played in Zimbabwe, both within the Parliament and the Senate, of course, under the guidance of the Speaker, Moderator, in driving the appreciation for utilization of evaluation in the work that is being done. Now, if you look at where you started and where you are now, can you highlight some of the? Can you highlight the process? So, what are some of the challenges? What were some of the opportunities? And ultimately, how have you gone to this point where we realize that, you know, evaluation seems very well entrenched throughout all the way to the office of the presidency? So if you can just enlighten us about, you know, the steps and how it got and the role that APNODE has played in this regard. Thank you.
Yes, to begin with, in a very big way, we would want to acknowledge the role which APNODE is doing. So far, we have attended 2 conferences with the APNODE. And from those conferences, we have come back home with the resolutions. And the resolutions are coming from what we have learned from APNODE in terms of awareness, institutionalization, developing a culture of monitoring and evaluation. The very same knowledge and the education which we have acquired from APNODE is the very also same information which we have communicated both in our 2 houses in Parliament. So in terms of awareness to our parliamentarians in both houses, I would say that the message has been sent very loud and clear, and any one of us is now very conscious about the need for monitoring and evaluation. Like what I have already alluded to, it is out of these reports and awareness that, for example, yesterday, there was a very heated, very exciting debate in terms of the need and the agents of wanting to employ to implement monitoring and evaluation. So I would say APNODE is doing a very good role in equipping us members, and also us members equipping our colleague members of parliament. So on that note, we are really progressing. And also on the side of us, the committee, we also have progressed very well in terms of planning with the consultants in regards to plans towards launch of M&E. But this launch, in as much as we would want to do it, the launch of M&E, it's something we also have been motivated to do through APNODE. It's what we have learned, the information, the knowledge which we have acquired, that also is enabling us to make the launch as the committee of APNODE. And we have had quite a number of engagements with the different stakeholders, appreciating also and sharing on the developments of M&E. But all this is as a result of APNODE as a catalyst. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I guess for us from the Secretariat, just hearing this, I think is wonderful. And I'm sure all the APNODE members online and those who subsequently be reading this should also be very proud of that APNODE has been able to play a meaningful role in this regard in Zimbabwe. I know you did mention that you've attended 2 meetings, but I must also say that I think prior to the 2 that you've attended, Zimbabwe was active in APNODE, and actually that Zimbabwe hosted the second APNODE annual general meeting in 2016. So I think the relationship between the National Assembly of Zimbabwe and APNODE goes way back. And so I'm glad that those seeds that were sown are strong and continue to be strong. I'll quickly check with Sonia if we have any other questions so that. Yes, Honorable Mhona, kindly go ahead.
Yes, I just want to raise a point of order. To say now Kobina is going to be a politician, because what he asked the Honorable Senator Chikukwa is exactly what he asked me. So he wanted to verify, to monitor and evaluate whether I had said the right things. so apparently you got exactly the words that I said from Honorable Chikukwa. I just thought on a lighter note, I would just pause that you become a dangerous politician. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I was just making sure that the enthusiasm within the National Assembly was the same as the enthusiasm within the Senate. Yes. So let me quickly turn to Sonia to find out if we have any last questions. Following which, if there's none, we'll begin to wrap up our conversation of this afternoon. So Sonia.
Yes, Kobina, thank you. We do not have any more questions. I think, yes, it's fine.
All right.
We can, yeah.
Okay, so there being no more questions, ladies and gentlemen, let me first take the opportunity to thank Honorable Felix Mhona from the National Assembly of Zimbabwe, and then Honorable Senator Langton Chikukwa from the Senate of Zimbabwe for making time of their busy schedule to join us this afternoon to share this insightful information about how the National Assembly and Senate in Zimbabwe are utilizing evaluation to shape public policy. I also want to thank all participants that have joined us. I see some from Cameroon, some from Congo, some from within the bank. I'm assuming some from Uganda and elsewhere, that we do appreciate everybody for joining us. Then this would not have been possible without the support of IT. So to our colleagues in IT, thank you very much. and of course to my colleague Sonia, who makes everything happen. Thank you very much. So at this point, maybe I'll just let Senator Chikukwa and Honorable Mhona say a few words in closing, and then we can end it here. We have our 5 minutes, so if you can all take a few minutes, maybe a minute to 2 minutes each, and say something to the audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kobina. Let me say, culturally, in Zimbabwe, if the chief speaks, then you cannot speak. And Honorable Senator Chikukwa is the chief. So I'll take advantage of speaking first so that I'll not be in a position not to speak after I've spoken. But let me hasten to say that I'm quite grateful, and I want to thank you very much, Kobina, and your team, your secretariat, especially from day one when we actually voted into this very important task as APNODE. Your commitment that you have demonstrated with your team, Sonia, that truly you have been pushing us. At times we do let you down where we are not in attendance, not because of our own making, but we wish that this chapter continues. And Zimbabwe, we are geared to uphold the issues of M&E. And I want to thank you very much. Let's continue engaging one another. Thank you very much. And even to the participants, to those who are following through, I want to thank them very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Senator Chikukwa.
Thank you very much, Kobena, for giving me this time once again. And I would want to apologize for the delay from the very onset. But however, I'm also happy that I managed to join in. And as such, I want to thank everyone who has participated on this webinar. At the same time, encouraging all of us, any one of us, that monitoring is the way to go. Life which is not measured is not worth living. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I think we will bring our webinar to a close. For those of you who are joining us, just to let you know that we have a third webinar planned with the National Assembly of Cote d'Ivoire. We will make the dates available once confirmed. Thank you so much, and God bless you.